Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on another edition of Yuletide Ghost Stories here with Witches Tiefland. We have a brand new author tonight, Shetan Noir, and not so much a ghost story, but Shetan does some pretty interesting storytelling. These are all some urban legends, some of them are actual accounts. So let's settle in and let's hear some excerpts from her story, Mothman.
Hey everyone, uh, let me introduce myself. My name is Shetan Noir. Most of you probably know me from doing presentations at events like Convocation and Detroit Pagan Pride Fest, events like that. But what most of you don't know is I'm also a cryptozoologist and a paranormal researcher. And so I was asked to read an excerpt or two, maybe three, from one of my newest books, and that is Mothman and Other Flying Creatures of the Midwest. Okay. Um, Actually has a new cover. We decided to go with some of my original artwork. So in case you're looking on Google or Amazon for the book and you don't see that cover, well, it's got a new cover, which I think is much more fantastic than the cover that's on it previously. So I thought I would start off tonight's Victorian ghost telling. It's not actually ghosts. We're going to do cryptozoology tonight because that's what my book's on. So we're starting out with one of the original reports that I came across that is actually out of Illinois. And it has to do with thunderbirds. So in case you hear a weird, odd sound, let me pan down so you can see this wonderful little angel Cheshire cat who has decided that she's going to take up residence on my side. Sorry, she really does get her way on these things. So, shall we begin? The most famous Thunderbird report of modern times. It happened on July 25th, 1977, in Lonsdale, Illinois. As it happens on this day, 3 boys, including Marlon Lowe, Travis Goodwin, and Michael Thompson, were playing in a backyard. It was around 8:30 that evening when 2 larger birds came into the area. Now, these birds were described as being almost vulture-like in appearance, but much bigger than any vulture that these boys had ever seen or had ever heard of. The birds first tried to attack and grab Travis Goodwin, who ran and jumped into a small pool. The birds next turned their attention to Marlon, and one of the birds succeeded in picking the young boy up by the straps of his tank top. The bird was able to pick the boy up and carry him about 2 feet off the ground. Now, Marlon at the time weighed about 65 pounds. Marlon then began screaming for his mother and some other neighbors who were located nearby. They were able, Kyla Cat, they were able to start throwing things at the birds, and Marlon himself was also fighting off the bird's talons and trying to get the bird to release him, which he eventually did get this bird to drop him. Now, when this bird picked him up, it carried him a good 30 to 40 feet before it dropped him. So you can just imagine the terror of this whole ordeal. This 10-year-old boy being picked up and starting to be carried off by this large vulture-like bird. Now, the 4 adults who were present and who also helped get him back from the bird were Jack and Rob Lowe, or Ruth Lowe, his parents, And they just couldn't believe that this bird, which they said had a wingspan of 8 to 10 feet, was trying to carry off their son. Now, the strange thing about this is the birds then decided to fly off, and they observed the birds flying off, and they flew towards an area called Kickapoo Creek. And here's the description that they gave of these birds. They were entirely black, except for a ring of white feathers around their necks. Their beaks were long and curved downwards. They had a wingspan of 8 to 10 feet. Now, this wasn't the only time that these birds were observed in this area, because on July 25th, 1977, the same exact day, James Daniels also reports the same two birds. He saw the birds from a distance about 15 feet away as they flew 6 feet off the ground and gained altitude. The birds were headed towards Kickapoo Creek. Mr. Daniels reported that the birds that he was observing had an 8-foot wingspan and a length of 4 feet. He also noted that the birds were black with a white fuzz around the neck and wingtips. He claimed that the birds looked like oversized vultures. Mr. James Daniel later changed his report, stating that the wingspan might have been closer to 4 feet. So we have different witnesses claiming that the same two birds that they observed, one set of witnesses claims that it has an 8-foot wingspan. Another set of witnesses claim it had 4. Now, these birds had been reported all over the Illinois countryside by various different people. But in 1977, word of mouth was not like it is today, when you can text message people or instant, message a group of people and instantly pass along information. This was not the case in 1977. Back then, you would have been making phone calls. Probably first to the sheriff's department, then maybe animal control, and then probably the newspapers if you really, really wanted to be called crazy. You have to remember in the 1977, the 70s, even into the 80s, ghost hunting, paranormal, supernatural, cryptozoology, that was like crazy talk. And nowadays it's like, who hasn't had a supernatural, paranormal, cryptid experience? Raise your hand, because I know I've had a couple. Right now I'm being attacked by a Cheshire cat. So it's very interesting that all these people had this sighting. But I also want to tell you another story from the book. And this one was very interesting because it just so happened that I was at an event and I had done a presentation about the cryptozoology of Pennsylvania. And one of the creatures that I talked about was the Butler County gargoyle. Now, this creature is just what it is. It's claimed to look like a gargoyle. And after I had got done talking about this creature and doing my presentation, I was back at my vending table, and a gentleman came up to me and said, "I've seen it." And I said, "What have you seen?" He said, "The gargoyle." So I was very excited and asked him to give me his report, which he generously did. He sent me, as I was driving home that night, he was emailing me his eyewitness testimony. Now, the story goes like this. He was driving down a rural road in rural farm country, Pennsylvania, and it was in October, in the fall. And as he's driving past this house, he sees what he believes at the time is this really cool concrete gargoyle. And he's thinking, wow, that is really cool. Look at all the detail work on that. They must have paid a lot of money for that. And as he's driving past this concrete gargoyle, its head starts to move and follow the path of his car, which he can see through the passenger window. Now, if that's not scary enough, as he's looking behind to see what's going on, he sees what he thinks are giant wings flapping in his rear view mirror and going above the car. Now, as fate would have it, he had to drive back past this house the very next morning. And as he's driving past the house, he notices and comes to the quick realization that there is no concrete gargoyle in front of this house. Now, the gargoyle in question was quite sizable, over 7 feet, and it would have weighed quite a lot. More than what just a couple of people could push or pull if they wanted to pull a prank. And so what his assumption is not only did he see the Butler County gargoyle, but he knows where he saw it at. Which makes me wonder if the gargoyle follows him or keeps an eye on him. Now, if you're interested in getting my book, Mothman and Other Flying Creatures of the Midwest, you can find it on Amazon. My name is Shetan Noir, ShetanNoir, and you can find my books. I have several of them. Most of them are cryptozoology books on Amazon. You can find the Mothman book. You can find Lake Monsters and Odd Creatures of the Great Lakes, which is my book about lake monsters and odd creatures of the Great Lakes. You can also find my children's series book, which is The Marvelous Misadventures of Tegan Gray. And in this book, it's the first book in the series, and she decides that she is going to hunt Bigfoot after Bigfoot crashes her tea party. If you are interested in the paranormal, particularly of the Great Lakes, the actual Great Lakes themselves, like ghost ships, hoodoo ships, haunted lighthouses, lake monsters, things of that nature, I do teach 2 courses at 2 different community colleges on the paranormal history of the Great Lakes. For people here in Michigan, I teach the course at Kellogg Community College at both the Battle Creek and the Hastings campus. Our next class session will be in May. And for people who are online and actually like the Zoom experience, I have 2 courses that I teach through Owens Community College out of Perrysburg, Ohio. And I will be posting that on my Facebook page soon. But the first course is the paranormal history of the Great Lakes. And the second course is cryptozoology of North America, where I break it down week by week, different cryptids. So the first week is like lake monsters. The second week is flying cryptids like pterodactyls and thunderbirds and Mothman. Fourth week is bipedals. Basically your Bigfoot, Sasquatch, lizard man, dog man, goat man, creatures of that nature. And then the fourth week is the weird creatures that don't really fit into any category, like the Loveland frogman and weird creatures like that. So if you're interested in the paranormal or cryptozoology, check out my Facebook page, and I will be posting links for the courses that I teach. I also have a podcast, Into the Liminal Abyss. You can check that out. There's links to it on my Facebook page. and YouTube, and it is played through Anchor for the Paranormal Soul and Radio Network. So once again, I'm Shetan Noir, and thanks for tuning in. And I hope you enjoyed excerpts from my book, Mothman and Other Flying Creatures of the Midwest.
What a great story, Shetan. That was fabulous. Now, Shetan's book is called Mothman. It's available on Amazon, but you have a chance to win the story. All we need you to do is like this post and comment on this post. We will draw for your chance to win a copy of Mothman by Shetan Noir on Friday. I'm so excited. This is a really great book. We've had some wonderful authors who have joined us during this Yuletide Ghost Stories, and it's been so fun sharing this with you. It's a little out of the ordinary from what we would normally do here with Witch's Tea Flint, but sometimes you got to shake things up a little, do things a little different, live a little. So I hope you have enjoyed this just as much as we have. I have a book for you next week. I found it while searching for Yuletide ghost stories, and I'm so excited to bring this one to you. So I have a great one that we'll share and have your copy to win also next week. Make sure with this post, though, for Shetan's book, you want to like and comment on the post, and we'll draw on Friday. Have a great evening. Thank you so much again for joining us. Happy holidays.